Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, double honors being to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well and have taught us its 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful, elect of the push not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you I can do say Shalom. I'm the Akira. I'm coming in with a quick video going to this chariot I saw on the 21st of February at 6:52 p.m. Now, what I do some evenings, and I try to do most evenings now, is stargaze, looking up at the stars with the telescope. You know, the so-called amateur astronomer. You know, these I like to point out. Amateur meaning it's a profession you like to do, it's a habit, but you're not getting paid for it. That's what Esau teaches and whatnot. But yeah, what's it called? And just like what's it called? Issachar, you know, what's it called? They knew the times, right? They were able to, pinpoint the seasons. They knew about the equinoxes, the solstices, position of the sun, right? Even what's it called? Well, a lot of the tribes knew. Like, you go to the Griffith Observatory, and you learn about the so-called Inca, and you learn about what's it called? One of the Native American tribes, so-called Native American tribes. Right, which, if I'm mistaken, Angus Asher and correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And so-called Native American North or Native Americans in the U.S. and Canada and Greenland, those are Gadites. Because to say North America, are Gads an oversimplification, given the fact that Mexico also falls under North America, and those so-called Mesoamericans were really Issachar. But you go to the Griffith Observatory, and I forget on what wing it is, but you got like little I don't know what you call them. Like, I want to say plaques, but those little sites, if you will, and they show one with one of the Gadite peoples observing the horizon. So you had a lot of Jake didn't know, but Issachar is mostly associated with the astronomy stuff, and that's where you have the so-called Maya with the calendar. But yeah, I was stargazing, and usually when I look at the stars, I try to get a sight on everything like Jupiter and whatnot, Polaris. But I go outside, the rural parts in the dark, and get a better look. But I was outside my home, right on the patio, and the only good things I could look at were just Jupiter and Messier 42, which is Orion Nebula, and the Orion constellation. But as I was stargazing, I saw a satellite, assuming it was a chariot, and it flew overhead of me, and I started, basically, inquiring in a humorous manner, saying things like, "Hey, where the Maracabio man? Hey, pull up. Hey, y'all forgot somebody. It's me. Y'all forgot me. Hey, pull up. What's it called? Hey, this Earth sucks. I'm standing with an elite. Hey, come deliver me, man. Hey, come deliver me. Okay, hey, beat me up, Scotty. Well, a few minutes later, I kid you not, and I forget why I turned around, but when I did turn around, I saw this bright orb in the sky, and initially I thought it was a plane, because planes tend to, look like a bright star when it's from afar, but as it gets closer, you start to see the red and the green flashing lights, and you get to hear like a vroom sound, like a vroom. Well, this one, it wasn't the case. And it was headed right towards me, and then it changed trajectory. And when I saw the color of it, it was an ember color. It looked like an ember, right? Like an ember from a fire. It was a bright yellow-orange color. And immediately I thought back on the chariot I saw in 2022, the same one that was coming towards me, but then changed trajectory to my left. And that's exactly what happened with this one, sort of. because it didn't immediately go full left, more so just curved to the left. And instantly I perceived a chariot from Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And, I gave all praises because it's a beautiful sight. So what you're seeing through this medium known as a video found on the internet is footage of an angel. The other Apostle Gabar, one breaking down Ezekiel 1, made that mention how a chariot itself is actually an angel. And you got angels housing angels. The same way your car, which is considered a chariot, a moving vehicle, houses individuals, right? Houses because like a minivan, like a trailer van, or just in general, a normal car. You go in the individual you go inside of that vehicle, and then you begin to move with it. Well, the same way, what's it called? Yeah, a flying vehicle. It stores other individuals, angelic individuals within it, and it begins to move. So it's an angel housing angels. There are angels within an angel, basically, if that makes any sense. And now you get to zoom in this video. Zooming in, you see various colors. It changes green, red, white, pink, red, whatever. But with the naked eye, it was just an amber color. And then I try to get a spot on it through the telescope, but it's pretty difficult because the way a telescope works is that it's inverted. So you have to aim it a certain way. And also, my telescope is pretty sensitive, so you gotta adjust it carefully. And it was kind of difficult. And even when I looked through the telescope, I couldn't see a thing. It was just a bright light, and it was close. And the video, you get to see a plane pass by it. Now that plane was around the same distance from the ground, or to the ground from up there, as the chariot is. But yet I could not see the chariot, design or anything like that. All I saw was a bright light, passing overhead. So, that was a very beautiful sign. Right, and it was terrific. Terrific, and the Google definition describes something, someone, or an action. Really a someone, right? A chariot being an individual, an angel. That is exceptionally good, wonderful, or extraordinary in degree. It can also mean intense, severe, or historically frightening, right? Frightening, which, it's true because you got people out here, flipping out whenever they see chariots. You got, what's it called? That's in Jeremiah 10:2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen dismayed at them, which, that also pertains to Jake, 2/3 of the nation of Israel who are accounted for as a spiritual heathen, right? That's actually I'll pull it out. Oh, bear with me. Bear with me. Yeah, Matthew 18:17, if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican, right? An outsider, right? Because if Jake don't want to, turn back into their true ways, which is to keep the righteous ways, right? The righteous acts, which is the law, biblical law, and follow and seek after Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, then and they want to keep on, going off, committing iniquity as the way they were raised. Really, the ways that they were raised by are the heathen ways, and they're accounted for as heathen for their heathenesque, customs and methods. So the heathen are just made than that pertains to Jake, and that's why you look at the as well, right? It pertains to Jake as well, as much as the actual heathen. And that's why you look at clips like on Instagram or whatever, and the chariot, you got people like, oh my God, Oh my UFOs, nigga. UFOs, that's what the government's hiding. That's what the government, oh my god, alien invasion, alien invasion, alien. Which, you know, an alien invasion sounds really cool, you know. That's what we're here for. And I forget where exactly I saw it, but someone alluded to a UFO invasion as a rescue mission. I forget where I saw that. I know it was a comment. Or maybe that comment that comes from a quote from a different source. I forget where, but that was a spirit because that is exactly what it's supposed to be. That's an alien invasion, right? A so-called alien invasion because alien pertains to, you know, an outsider, and who's an outsider to the Earth? Extraterrestrials. You know, what's it called? The angels. Sure, what's it called? Going back to, you know, what's it called? Zechariah 5. Right? Death made the mansion now. You know, there's a curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. The chariots, you know, they've been around since the start. But, you know, the earth, the main inhabitants are humans, and then you got the animals below us. Right? And angels are spiritual beings. You know, they mostly originate from the spirit realm. Right? Or they're really around the second heaven, which is space. You know, they're really a lot, majority of them. You know, they out there just building planets. You know, that's why when you what's it called? Look at these various documentaries of the universe. They always emphasize like billions of galaxies. There's like bajillion galaxies at this point, dude. You know, and that goes to show you how much angels we got, dude. It's like bajillion angels, dude. You know, what's it called? So when they pull up from wherever freaking sector of the universe they came from, the, you know, pull up on Earth, dude, you know, that's where that what's it called, alien invasion, you know, term comes from, that title comes from. And yeah, an invasion too, because what's it called, it's an invasion of righteousness on this wicked world. And we know this gonna start off with the Yahushai, the angels, you know, bring destruction, and they're gonna rescue the elect. And time out to Galatians 4:14 makes the mention. Now you have received me as an angel, right? I want to show you how the prophets, man, those guys are angels too. Hell, you know, as a matter of fact, an angel and a Hebrew, it's like a Hebrew, an angel and a prophet, though they're different words, different titles, they share the same meaning of what? A messenger. They're both messengers. Is that the case? I'll tell you, yay. Right, what's it called? Pull up definition of angel. Angel, Malak, if I'm mistaken, Malak. Messenger, representative. Now you go to that word prophet, aka seer, you know, same individual. You know, for that was a 4-time mention as a seer, is now known as a prophet. That word prophet in the Hebrew is Nab Ya'ah. Nab Ya'ah, if I'm mistaken. And in the line of biblical usage, it is a spokesman, speaker, right? To prophesy, which when we prophesy, are basically speaking on future events. And you're speaking said message to a group of people. You're sent unto them. It is therefore no wonder as to why in Jeremiah 25:4, for example, made the mention, I have sent unto you my servants the prophets, rising up daily, and you have taken and slew them. You have not taken heed. It was second. There's the first chapter. Huh? That I said you have taken and slew them. Yeah. What's it called? I don't remember Jeremiah 25:4 being that gory. No, that was totally second than just the first chapter. Which, you know, that was a common thing. You guys did kill the prophets. You guys killed the angels of the Lord, dude. You know, you're not fucked up. You gotta be to do that. What did the scripture say? Touch not my anointing and do no harm unto my prophets. You guys done exactly that. You guys gonna get slew. And that's where that reference of an invasion is gonna come on the way as well. Because best believe, man, the chariots, oh man, they're gonna burn out. They're gonna wreak havoc, dude. Hey, you know what? Really, what I was shown was a sign of mercy, dude. And on Chariot, what's it called, blowing me up. You have accounts of chariots, what's it called, blowing up various things. We've seen footage of chariots, blowing up certain things, going against the heathen militaries and whatnot, dude. The fact that chariot pulled up and just passed over me after, I was inquiring of them. And blow me up the smith. Man. The fact that I was blowing smithereens, that's a sign of mercy, dude. Especially for what the scriptures refer to the chariots as, terrible, dude. Isaiah 66th chapter, verse 15. What's it called? Hey, I was lucky. I don't want to use that term lucky because the other apostle told me to mention how there's no such thing as luck, but as an expression, I was lucky, to come out of it alive, dude. Oh my God, dude. Else I wouldn't have been able to publish this video, dude. Oh my God, dude. Verse 15, Isaiah 66 and 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with the flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. Do I qualify as flesh, Hakim? Do I qualify? I qualify as flesh. I'm in the flesh right now. This freaking disgusting meat, weak human body, weak tissue, sinews, everything, dude. I'm weak. I am definitely weak. As long as the spiritual bodies, I will not be weak. So what's it called? For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Man, thank you, how about you, man? I ain't getting no smoke by a chariot, dude. Ooh. Damn, dude. Damn. Man, he didn't plead with me like that. And Lord willing, he don't plead with me like that. So I don't want to get burned up by a chariot. Hell no. What's it called? But yeah, that's where that reference of the invasions come in the way, because it's not only gonna be the ICBMs that are gonna burn, it's also gonna be the chariots. Hey, that's why time at the second is just 13. What's it called? Hey, the heathen, yet they durst fight, but what's it called? In the end, the Lord, released the flames of fire, and he was able to, make them as though they had not been, vaporize them to freaking dust. Vaporize, those fire jets as dust. And I'm speaking past tense because that's how, what's it called? I'm speaking about what I read about, but is it really past tense? No, it's really future tense. What I mean is really is future tense. It's going to happen soon. It hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen soon. What's it called? So they're gonna come, destruction. But it's also, again, a rescue operation. Right? I believe it was the other Chazak Allah who made the mention how the elect are POWs, prisoners of war, and that's exactly the case. Hey, what war against Esau? It's always been about Jacob versus Esau, dude. Else it shouldn't have been mentioned about in Malachi. It should not have been mentioned about in Romans. It should not have been mentioned about in Second Esdras if Esau died off. For the mention that it's not about Jacob and Esau, there will be no need to mention them in any of the scriptures. Ezekiel 37 shouldn't be, it should be about something else at this point. Then talking about Mount Seir, there should be no reference to Mount Seir if that's the case. But no, there's going to be mention of second Esdras, talking about Jacob and Esau. There's going to be mention of Mount Seir in Ezekiel 37. It's going to be mentioned because it has always been about Jacob and Esau. A lot of the things you see on this planet Earth is to destroy Jacob, man. Esau was trying to get these proper numbers on the size of the heaven and the first heaven, right, firmament and whatnot. Why? Because the scriptures go on to how if he knew, the exact measurements, the nation of Israel would cease to exist. Hey, but Esau ain't gonna get shit. All he gets is estimates, dude. And estimates ain't gonna do you any favor, any justice, dude. Right? That's a tip-top secret. The Lord's cat, dude. Right? But sure, the Lord has made Esau wiser than Daniel, the scriptures teach. Not that wise, for sure. And especially now, what's the call? You see Esau faltering, various individuals, they're slipping on their own tongue. Out here, what's it called? Getting caught. So he's really faltering. He's really falling. And he's gonna fall by that fire too. But an invasion. Going back to invasion. What happens after the destruction? They're the nation of Israel. Under Yahweh Shai, they're gonna establish the next kingdom, a kingdom ridden in righteousness. How about that, baby? How about that? That's really spoken about in Revelation, right? What's it called? War. War for the world. Pull out a quick precept. Right. Revelation 19 and 11, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, which we know is a chariot. And white represents purity too. Horse. Back in the ancient world, horses, they were the main movers of the chariot. The chariot was static, inanimate, unless a horse was tied to it, and then as the horse would run, the chariot would begin to move behind it. Right? And what now? You got something known as, what's it called? Horsepower. Horsepower, right? So really, when we're just talking about horses and certain precepts, they're really referring to your cars, like what's it called, Ferraris, where the merchants referring to people in the cargo ships. Those cargo ships, they got containers full of what's it called, Ferraris and Porsches and whatnot. Being imported, exported. Those are your horsepower, or those are your horses of the cars. Well, same thing. Just like how a chariot is, what's it called? So-called UFO is a chariot, moving vehicle. It's also considered a horse. Just various code words that the scriptures deal with. So it's not talking about a little horse. I mean, sure, the Lord could have it to, because nothing's impossible with the Lord. So he could literally have it to where it's like a flying horse. Hell, there could be a different species on another planet right now with actual Pegasuses, right? And the Pegasus that we know about on this earth is more so just like a hint, like a teaser, a spoiler for a different species that the Lord has in store in the kingdom, in a different planet, right? Which will be accessing the kingdom. So, there could actually be flying Pegasuses. But really, this horse, in this case, pertains to a chariot. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, referring to Yahweh Shai, on the Yahweh Shai ship. In righteousness he doth judge in what? He doth judge in what? Make mother flipping war. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. See? So how about that? And it is a righteous war they're going to do. The war of the heathen. All these wars are simple. That's why in the kingdom, they're not going to learn war anymore. But this one, on the other hand, it's a necessary war. Right? To subdue the heathen and establish the nation of Israel on power. How about that? His eyes was a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. What's it called? And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothing filing with white and clean. White horses, referring to the chariots. Hey, what's it called? The chariots of the Lord are 20,000, even thousands, right? This is Mount Sinai, roughly paraphrase. There's like a bajillion chariots, dude. This is just one. The video you see of the chariot, that's just one chariot out of the whole bunch. And there's probably like 10 angels within that chariot, dude. So there's like 11 angels right there in total. So I don't know. I'm just estimating. And out of his mouth goeth sharp sword, that with it should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and the wrath of Almighty God. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Whoo, man, how about that? How about mother flipping that? How about that? That's how my war. That's how my war, son. You know. What's it called? So that's that. I talk about UFO invasion being really a rescue mission. It's really both, right? It's called Operation Yasharala, right? How about that? What's it called? Just want to do a quick little video on that. And Lord, what was edifying to the next one I do say shalom. Okay, there's another precept I wanted to pull out. Yeah, because the eyes of the Lord could also pertain to the chariots. Proverbs 15:3, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. How about that? What's it called? The eyes of the Lord upon the sinful kingdom. What sinful kingdom? Babylon, aka America. Right? So I just want to do a quick lesson on that. Lord, what was edifying to the next one I do say shalom.